Welcome back to another card review. Found out recently, more specifically, what spellburst is. It's not multiple uses, it's a one-time effect that you get for using a spell when he's on the board. Which will probably change my opinion on some of the cards, but it's the preview stuff anyway, so I'm not giving specific ratings until I get into the review portion of it, which is after I've gone over all the cards. So, let's move on. So we got Initiation, which is a 6-cost priest spell. Deal 4 damage to a minion. If that kills it, you summon a new copy. So, you can use it on your own minion to get a... Like, if he's hurt, gives him a new... Gets him back to full health. And if you do it to your opponent, it just gives them another one? Because it just says summon a new copy. It doesn't specify that you get the copy, so if you kill your opponent minion, then they get a new copy of it? Is what it sounds like. So most likely you're going to use this on your own stuff, which for priest you'll probably use like some kind of death rattle stuff probably then with this, but I'm just not seeing it. It seems too steep of a price for it. We got Instructor Fireheart, 3-cost 3/3 for Shaman, a legendary. Battlecry, discover a spell that costs 1 or more. If you play it this turn, repeat this effect. So it obviously cannot give you a 0-cost spell. And if you play that spell, then you get to discover another spell that costs 1 or more. So hopefully you get multiple uses out of this. So this is more of a value card than anything, for sure. I like it. I honestly do really like this. Intrepid Initiate. Sure. 1 cost, 1/2 spellburst gain +2 attack. So best he can be is a 3/2 because spellburst you only get it once. Found that out today with actually this guy using him. I'm just like, oh, another spell doesn't do anything? Alright. So, it's a good card, though, still. Because you can get it to a 3/2 for just playing a spell, which you're playing the spell as the normal cost anyway, so it's just an extra bonus effect that you're getting. So, I'd say it's pretty good. Janice Barov. 5-cost 2/1 dual class card for mage or rogue. Battlecry, summon 2 random 5-cost minions. You secretly pick one of those minions that whenever it takes damage, it just instantly dies. Which I don't know if that's... It just seems weird, I'll be honest. Because you are still taking that damage for the one that instantly dies. But your opponent also doesn't maybe want to run into what you would normally run into it to kill it. Because if you deal 1 damage to it, it could be the one that just dies anyway. But you don't know. It's a very interesting card. It's like kind of combining just some weird elements. It's weird, but I like it. So, I could see this card with maybe some potential somewhere. Justicus Jr. 6-cost 4/9 with lifesteal for Paladin. Pretty basic card, probably just a normal card filler. It's got a lot of health for a 6-cost, though. I do like that a lot. I'd say it's pretty decent. Also, an easy something that you'll easily want to buff. Because only thing that can clear it out is really something really big, or like a card that just instantly kills something. So I will say this card is very, very good. I like it. We got Keymaster Alabaster. Yeah, I think that's right. 7 cost, 6/8 legendary for neutral. Whenever your opponent draws a card, you add a copy of that card to your hand, and it costs 1. So this card is really strong because that lets you know what your opponent has, and you get to play what your opponent has for way cheaper than what they are playing it for. That's some good value, first off, and very useful information that he is giving you. This is a very, very strong card that can be used in any class. I'd say it goes into any kind of control deck or something like that. Because then you can for sure outvalue your opponent then as well. We got Core Lusk Backstripper. Barkstripper, not back. Backstripper. Whoa, where'd your back go? That'd be terrifying. Gosh. Okay, Barkstripper. That's a lot better. 4 cost, 3/5 Beast for Hunter with spellburst, destroy a random enemy minion. So this is only the one time you play a spell, you get to destroy a random enemy minion. If you play another spell after he already activated it, it doesn't do anything. It's just the one time. Which arguably makes this card obviously a bit worse than I probably initially thought. Because I'm like, whoa, that's powerful. But no, it only can happen one time. And you can still kill the minion before they even get that spell burst off, too. That is also an option that can happen. So, where does that put this? It's okay for the stat line, and the effect's pretty decent, even though it's only one time. It's still destroying a random minion. That's still good value there. I'd say it's still pretty decent. Lab Partner. 1 cost, 1/3 for Mage with spell damage +1. Basic. Stronger than a normal 1 cost baseline card, I would say. Because a 1/3 is relatively normal. And then now you also have some spell damage to go along with it. Which just makes it better. So I'd say it's very good. Lake Thresher. 5 cost, 4/6 Beast for neutral. Also damages the minions next to whomever this attacks. So it's basically, it has a... they should really have a name for that, honestly. They really should. Because there are a lot of cards that do have this. There's the Sweeping Strike that gives this ability. So I'm just going to call this... it swipes the minions next to it. That's what I'm going to call it. Is that good? I'd say that's very good, especially for 5, and it's got 4 attack. It's got some good value, for sure, with this. So, pretty strong, I think. Okay, we got Lore Keeper Pole Kilt. 4 cost, 4/5 neutral legendary. Battlecry, reorder your deck from highest card to the lowest card. So there's probably some like weird thing that you can set up with this. Is it good for a value deck? Maybe, because now you're getting your high class stuff first. So you can just get stuff on the board. Maybe it's good for like a druid and wild where you get your high stuff out so you can get Barnabas to make all your stuff free. I don't know, it's just weird. It's a weird card. I don't know if it's necessarily useful. It's just weird. I don't really like it. I'll be honest. Not a big fan. It just reordering your deck from highest to lowest. Yeah, you get your high stuff now. But let's say you run out of all the high stuff that you want, and now you're just stuck with your low cost stuff, which flat out will not help in any situation now, and now you're dead. Just weird. Because your opponent now knows that your stuff is highest to lowest. So if you're playing big stuff, they're like, oh, I'm safe to polymorph this because the stuff that's coming later on will be worse because it's cheaper. So I don't know about this card. Mana Feeder Panthria. 2-cost, 2/3 beast. If you use your hero power this turn, you draw a card. Decent, fine. Obviously, you're not going to play this on a curve. You're probably going to play this. Your best hope is you play this on turn 4. So you get hero power, and you play this to draw the card right away, as quickly as possible. Not bad. I like it. Perfectly fine. There we got Mind Reader Alucia. 2-cost, 1/3. Out of the cry, you swap hands and decks with your opponent until your next turn. I don't know if it's necessarily useful. Gives you plenty of information on your opponent, but your opponent now gets plenty of information on you as well. So, I don't think this card is very good. People were trying stuff in Wild where they played Bran and then this, and they're like, oh, it swaps twice, and then it just swaps to your opponent, and now they're stuck with your deck for the rest of the game. And it's like, it's not how that works. Read the text. It swaps with your opponent until your next turn. And it says until your next... You swap twice, and then you obviously swap back twice. So it really didn't do anything. So, I don't know about this card. This card isn't terribly useful, I don't think. Okay, we got Marrow Slicer. A 4-cost, 4/2 with Battlecry. Shuffle 2 Soul Fragments into your deck. So a Soul Fragment, I put right over here. The Soul Fragments will actually be used in Warlock or Demon Hunter, because they both will have Soul Fragment cards that they will have. This is specifically a Demon Hunter weapon. So when you draw this, you would restore 2 health to your hero. And there are also actually other cards that destroy Soul Fragments to do a effect. And we will see some of those later in this review, or preview, technically. So is a 4-cost, 4/2 weapon that gives you 2 Soul Fragments good? It's pretty decent. It's technically, it's on the same curve as True Silver Champion, which would heal you 4. While you're attacking, though, right away, you get that effect. Soul Fragment's a little delayed. So technically, it gives you about the same amount of... It gives you the same amount of value as True Silver Champion. But the heal is delayed. Unless you end up destroying the heals for something else. Which makes sense, because some of the effects of destroying the Soul Fragments are pretty good. So, I'd say this card's pretty decent. Molten Blast. 3-cost Shaman spell. Deal 2 damage. Summon that many 1/1 elementals. So obviously you're supposed to use this to get more spell damage, so you have spell damage on the board, so you do more damage to summon more elementals. But you don't want to have too much spell damage, because then you can't summon all those elementals onto the board, and you waste some of that value. So it's a weird balance that you gotta find. But even at the base cost of this, it's not even that bad. It's honestly pretty decent. Dealing 2 damage is good, and getting 2 1/1 elementals. So that gives you 2/2 and deal 2. Decent, fine, completely legitimate. Scholomance, 5 cost, 3/7. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, you summon a 2/2 skeleton with taunt. I like this card especially because of the high health. You don't really care much about the attack, because you want the health to keep this alive so you can get more 2/2 skeletons with taunt. And then that's really nice is that they have taunt, so then this can now hide more behind those skeletons as well. So honestly, I think relatively good card, and we'll talk more about it a different time as well. Overwhelm. 1 cost, hunter spell. Deal 2 damage to a minion. Deal 1 more damage for each beast you control. So if you got a bunch of beasts on the board, this can do a lot of damage to a single target, which is generally something that Hunter lacks. No, Hunter lacks in AoE, I should say. Directly to 1 minion, they don't struggle with that too much. And it's weird because it's like, hey, if I have plenty of minions on the board, I'm now just going to deal lots of damage to anything that you play, which seems a bit much, along with that one warlock card that would summon copies of demons, which you have to be ahead already, which this is also, you have to be ahead already for it to do actually decent. Otherwise it's only 2. I mean, it could be 3. It is only 1 cost though. 1 cost deal 2's pretty normal as well for Hunter, because you got Arcane Shot, which is 1 cost deal 2 already, and this thing is 1 cost deal 2, but now you could do more. So really this is a pretty good card still. It just seems weird that it's like, hey, if you're ahead, be even more ahead. So I don't know, I don't get that. But partner assignment. So there's a 1 cost druid spell. You add a random 2 cost and a random 3 cost beast into your hand. Really nice because it sets up your next 2 turns basically if you didn't have anything. But this is not guaranteed to start in your hand. So let's say you draw it later. Do you want a random 2 cost, 3 cost beast added to your hand? Sure, good value. If you're playing a druid with that wants to cast lots of spells, or you're playing a beast druid, or you're playing a control druid, this is a good option because it's a cheap spell to get off first off for that one. For beast, it gives you even more beasts, and for control, it gives you plenty of value. So I'd argue this card's pretty good. Alright, Plagiarize. 2 cost Rogue Secret. At the end of your opponent's turn, add copies of the cards that they played to your hand. It's an interesting card. It gives you exactly what your opponent did. And now you can do the exact thing right back if you wanted to, but you probably won't. You'll probably use it for other situations. But your opponent knows what's going to be coming, because they know that it's their cards. So now you can find really good times to use those. Like, let's say they flame striked you while you had this on the board. Well, now you've got a flame strike for whenever you fall behind, because you're obviously not going to use it on the exact turn that you got it, because the reason they flame strike you is they probably don't really have much board presence on the board, and they need to clear some of your stuff out of there. So I'd say like value rogue maybe. Probably not a tempo. Maybe tempo, but probably not. Plagued Proto Drake. 8 cost 8/8 dragon. Death Rattle, summon a random 7 cost minion. Honestly just good. 8 cost 8/8 is pretty normal for 8s, and then you also get a random 7 cost, so that's really good value. Random 7 cost sometimes stinks. Like, you can get a 5/5, or you can get a 7/7 is fine. You got good options for 7 costs, I will say. So it's not bad, but sometimes you get a low roll. I'm telling you, you really can sometimes. Potion of Illusion. 4 cost spell, or dual spell. For mage or rogue, you add 1 copies of minions to your hand. They cost 1. I was thinking to myself when I first saw this card of like, is this going to set up a combo decks? And the answer is, for rogue or mage, maybe. I mean, you can get plenty of Sorcerer's Apprentices then. You probably play 2 Sorcerer's Apprentices. You play this for 2. And you play more Sorcerer's Apprentices to make all your stuff 4 cheaper. You cannot play Archmage Antonidas yet. You need stuff that makes it cheaper. But there is a possibility that someone could probably find a way to make that work with Archmage Antonidas. So, duplicates also. Oh no, duplicate isn't in standard. I don't know. There could be a way. I just can't think of it right now. Anyway, I think it's a good card, good value. Otherwise, can maybe set up some OTKs. Power Word Feast. 2 cost priest spell. Give a minion +2/+2. Restore to full health at the end of the turn. Which is kind of nice. So you can give a minion Power Word Feast, run it into something, so then it's at low health, and then it fully restores at the end of the turn. I think that's pretty good. Very strong, I would argue, as well. I do like it. Primordial Studies. So we get a 1 cost dual class studies. So it's for either shaman or mage. Discover a spell damage minion. Your next spell damage minion costs 1 less. Fair. Most likely more useful for a mage. But with some of the shaman stuff, it can also be useful. But I do really think that a mage would use it a lot more than a shaman would. Professor Slate. 3 cost 3/4 for Hunter. It's a legendary. Your spells are poisonous. Once again, going back to Hunters being good at... Actually, this could be ridiculous with a lot of stuff. This is a very strong card. Because you've got... like, Hunter doesn't really have too much AoE. But any AoE that it does have, it could kill anything. Period. Unless it has Divine Shield. Which, if your opponent makes a bad move, and they trigger an explosive trap, they just murdered their entire board when they should have killed this. Do they have it? They gotta have some AoE besides explosive trap, though. I don't know. Twin Shot is very good with this, though, too. Because that murders 2 minions easily. Because it's just 1 cost, deal 1. So, boom, dead, boom, dead. So you're probably going to go with a very spell-heavy deck. Which then, for like Wild, there's a deck where you have no minions, but then you don't want this, which is weird. It's weird. He's in a weird place, but not for Standard. He's not in a weird place. I think he's just good. Very good. Spells being poisonous is kind of ridiculous. Raise Dead. Deal 3 damage to your hero. Return 2 friendly minions that died this game to your hand. It's for Priest or Warlock. Most likely, I think Priest would use this, just because you can, heal it back. But very, very strong for either way. For either class, I think. For Warlock, it's most likely going to be demons that you get back, but I don't know. We'll see. Raz Frost Whisperer. 5 cost, 3/6 for Shaman or Mage. At the end of your turn, deal 1 damage to all minions. All enemies, not all minions. All enemies improved by spell damage. This guy can be ridiculous if you have a lot of spell damage. Like, you just clear your opponent's board like every turn. If you just have a crap ton of spell damage. I think he's very strong and completely useful and could be used in like a lot of decks probably, because that is a very strong ability since it can be improved by spell damage. Otherwise, if it couldn't be improved by spell damage, it's okay. Because, it can wipe boards every turn then, for no extra cost then. That's just ridiculous. Reaper's Scythe. 4 cost, 4/2, spellburst, also damages adjacent minions this turn. It's kind of weird that you can only get that once, since it does have 2 swings. Oh wait, no. It will just keep the effect. Constantly. Oh no, it does say this turn. Okay, it's weird, because it's... Okay, then I was right. Blah. Yeah, because that's weird. That it can only do it like that for only 1 swing. That makes no sense. I like it, though. That is still very strong. 4 cost, 4/2 weapon is once again on the same normal line of a 4 cost weapon. It's normally 4/2 at this point. But that extra little oomph, it helps a lot. It makes it kind of worth it. Robes of Protection. 3 cost, 2/4 minion. Neutral minion. Your minions can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. They should have a name for that too, so it's not as short. They should call it Deflection. I don't know. That's just a guess. Alright, that's just what I'm throwing out there. Deflection. So anyway, it includes itself, which is really nice as well. So basically, as long as this lives, you're probably just going to want to protect it as much as possible. It's also in a weird place because you can't buff it to make it be able to survive more. Also, you can't buff any of your other minions then. It's most likely not going to be seen in Priest or Paladin, because then you cannot buff your stuff. I'm going to be very effective against probably Mage and Shaman, most likely. It's also probably what you'll see it the most too, actually. But I do like it. I do like it a lot. We got Rune Dagger. 2 cost, a 1/3 weapon. After your hero attacks, you get spell damage +1 this turn. Very strange, because it's a very weak weapon, but the effect is at least quite useful. Not like super useful again though. As I've said a lot, there's not as many shaman spells as you would think that actually do damage. There's a good amount that summon stuff or heal stuff, or just convert something into a frog or something like that. There's not as many as you would think that actually really do damage, that are very that are seen very much. Most likely you would see this in probably, I'm guessing, a control shaman, because then it can help out Earthquake, make that more effective. Because that technically gives Earthquake an extra 2 damage, because it would do 6 and then 3 instead of 5 and then 2. Which is a strange interaction, but I really do like that interaction of how it would work. Next we have Runic Carvings. 6 cost dual class spell for Druid or Shaman. You choose one, summon 4 2/2 Treant Totems, or you overload 2, and then those 4 2/2 Treant Totems will have Rush. It's kind of weird that you got these Treant Totem things, but I do like it. It's weird, but also really cool. Most likely, I think this would be seen in Druid, because Shamans really don't care that much that they're totems much anymore. And Druid does kind of care about Treants. Also, this can be very good for like a token deck as well. Does it need the rush? Sometimes not. That's why you're kind of choosing if you overload 2 to give them rush or not. So I do like it though. Now we got Secret Passage for Rogue. It's a 1-cost spell. Replace your hand with 5 cards from your deck. You swap back next turn. So if you got only a few cards in your hand, you can now have a hand of 5 cards. Use them, and then you'll go back to whatever you had before, which was probably like 1 or 2 cards then. Useful. It's technically like a cheap card draw if you need it. Kind of a card draw, kind of not. But useful. Still quite useful. And we got Self-Sharpening Sword. We got a 3-cost rogue weapon. It's a 1/4. After your hero attacks, it gains 1 attack. It's kind of weird. Because like your first attack is 1, then your next attack is 2, and then 3, and then your last attack is 4 damage. Which, I don't know how I feel about this. It's just kind of weird. Because I want my attack to be consistent throughout the durability. Because like the last attack's pretty good, but like the first attack and the second attack just are terrible. It's like I don't even want to really swing with this because it doesn't really do much. But I mean, the only way you want to really do it is like picking off a minion to finish it off with 1 health. But still, like, it doesn't feel good. Alright, we got Swordlight Scholar. 3-cost, 3/4 for Warlock. Battlecry, you destroy a soul fragment in your deck, which we talked about soul fragments, to deal 3 damage. So you kind of choose. Do I want to heal 2? Or do I want to play this, deal 3 damage to something? That's also if you even have a soul fragment in your deck. So 3-cost, 3/4, deal 3 damage, lose a soul fragment. I think pretty decent. I do like it. Battlecry, the dealing 3 damage is pretty decent. You kind of need to do it for the minion because the stats are kind of average for a 3-cost. It's kind of on that basic, kind of just that normal baseline for a 3-cost. So it's not great. But the Battlecry makes up for it, so. I didn't skip one, did I? No, okay, good. Shard Shatter Mystic. 3-cost, 3/2 Demon Hunter minion. Battlecry destroys Soul Fragment, alright, in your deck to deal 3 damage to all other minions. So kind of a big board clear card, but I don't think that's very much of a card that Demon Hunter really cares about. Demon Hunter, if I remember correctly, is kind of aggressive, but I'm not sure. I'd have to look at kind of what Demon Hunter is anyway. Like, I never really played much Demon Hunter, so I just don't know too much about it. But just of how the card is, really strong for that ability. Like, heck, it's only a soul fragment. It's not that big of a sacrifice to deal 3 damage to all the minions on the board. So I do think that's very strong. Oh, that was it. Alright. That is another preview down. One more to go, and then I will get into the reviews. So I will see you next time.